Hello, Buglers, and welcome to issue 4196 of The Bugle, the universe's leading and only source of independently verifiable fact. Sorry, I'm just hearing that has not, in fact, been independently verified, so I'm afraid there are zero sources of independently verifiable fact. Sorry about that. I am Andy Zaltzman, and I'm reporting to you live from the shed of incorruptible veracity. Joining me this week on Tuesday, the 1st of June, no less, of the year 2021, to bring in yet another new month. When will it end? In an all-South London lineup, it's Nish Kumar and Chris Addison.
Hello, Andy. Hello, Nish. Hello, Buglers. I'm very excited because it's beautiful here, Andy. And in the 26 years of my career, this is the first time I've ever turned up to a professional engagement wearing shorts since I stopped playing fullback for London Irish in 2003.
Yes, I'd forgotten about your illustrious rugby career, Chris.
Quite a time. I played right back.
I'm very delighted to be here, and in the grandest tradition of this podcast, in terms of sharing terrible gig stories, I believe we have finally found the trump card, because Chris Addison was actually present at the gig where someone threw a bread roll at me.
Oh, right.
Chris Addison was right in the hot seat, at the epicentre of the chaos.
I saw the parabola described by the bread as it made its way nishwards.
Top story this week, and, well, we're recording on Tuesday. This is really top story from last week, and last week was yet another week in which passers-by reported seeing a single salt tear slowly dripping down the withering, haggard, guilt-ridden face of British democracy. Dominic Cummings, the former special advisor to Prime Minister Boris Johnson, sat before the House of Commons Health, Science and Technology Committees, swore the Hippocratic Oath, and let it rip into the Johnson government and his part in it. Now, I know you are both huge fans of the Machiavellian goings-on of Westminster. What did you both make of it?
Well, I think I speak for everybody in our industry, Andy, when I say it was just great to see live performance back. And this was a hell of a way to do it. This was very much the Beyonce at Glastonbury of select committee hearings. This is the one the fans wanted to see. Obviously, last year there was that outdoor promenade show in the Rose Garden at number 10 and the brief regional tour of the Northeast. Like the rest of us, Dom was clearly itching to get back into a proper performance space. Sure, as with many of the other great comedy characters of our time, there will always be a section of the audience asking, why does it have to be so sweary? But that's just the truth of that character. And boy, did he spend quite a long time telling us his truth. Sporting his traditional look of one of the aliens from Close Encounters has scored a sponsorship deal with Uniqlo, he sat and gesticulated like Jurgen Klopp with a wasting disease as he spent 7 hours detailing governmental failures over COVID. 7 hours, Andrew, which begs the question, why did he leave so much out?
And also, that's a 7-hour chat slagging off the government. That, to me, he could easily have done that whilst watching a day of cricket. I don't know why that wasn't factored in. Make it more palatable.
Every so often just wandered off to queue for beer, come back, had another moan.
Yep.
I was absolutely outraged that because he did swear at one point. He was relaying an anecdote about relating to Helen McNamara, who was the then Deputy Cabinet Secretary, who according to Cummings, came into the Prime Minister's office to tell us that we were all absolutely f***ed. And he was allowed to say the F word on television at 10:30 a.m. But when I pitched the character of Derek C***, it was unsuitable for broadcast at any time.
I mean, there was this question of whether you believe this was all truth. I mean, I would say it was gospel truth for me, from what Dominic Cummings said, in that some people won't believe a word of it. Some people will believe it is 100% literal fact, and others will believe it's got a few vague facts in it, but is mostly spin just to make the main character look good. I do come at that from an atheist, second-generation lapsed Jewish angle. But people said, this is just another Westminster Bubble thing. But surely in this case, the Westminster Bubble burst like a festering sore and splattered strangely coloured pus over the entire nation, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to view it as a Westminster Bubble thing when the Prime Minister's former chief advisor was asked directly if the Prime Minister was a fit and proper person to lead the country through the pandemic, and said advisor simply replied, no. And he then went on to apologise to the public and say that they fell disastrously short of the standards that the public has a right to expect of its government in a crisis like this. And then Cummings tried to push the line that somehow this was all our fault in an oblique way, because he said, in any sensible, rational government, it is completely crazy that I should have been in such a senior position, in my personal opinion. I'm not smart. It's completely crackers that someone like me should have been in there, just like it's crackers that Boris Johnson is in there. And he was not called up to that position by some sort of postcode lottery. He applied for the position. His whole brand that he built was that he was the smartest guy in the room, and he's now sat there going, who, me? I'm just a little cutie pie. I shouldn't be put in charge of nothing except being a cutie pie.
Cummings claimed that Boris Johnson did indeed say, let the bodies pile high, as we talked about a few weeks ago. And I guess the most convincing explanation for why he said that was that it was just a slight misunderstanding, and that, in fact, Bodies Pile High was a 1980s American teen TV show set in the high school of the fictional Los Angeles County District of Hodderington Spialentio, or Bodies Pile for short.
I was in WH Smith this week, looking for.
All right, big shot. Don't flash it about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've got the cash. I got a voucher. I've got a voucher for a big bar of dairy milk, with my Daily Mail. I was in Smith's this week. No, I wasn't looking for that. I was looking for a socially distanced version of Hello magazine called Hello magazine. And I happened to notice May's issue of Entitled Thickie Monthly, and just under a picture of cover star Nadine Dorries holding a book upside down were the words, "This month's quiz, are you Matt Hancock?" So just to check, I bought it. Let me read it to you. Okay. Question 1. You find yourself in Boris Johnson's office in number 10 Downing Street. Opposite you is a talking haystack in an ill-fitting suit with jizz stains by the half-open flies. It asks you if you want to be Secretary of State for the Department of Health. Do you, A, politely decline on the grounds that there may be others better suited to the position, since you yourself have the intellectual chops of a turnip with a face drawn on, or B, jump at the chance in the deluded hope that the power you will wield might in some way fill the insatiable black hole in your soul that you first noticed when Emma Swinton, who you'd fancied since year 7, laughed at the Fresh Prince haircut you just got because she once said she thought Will Smith was hot. Question 2. There is a global pandemic. You, a man no one in their right mind would trust to be able to spell PPE, let alone arrange billions of items of it, have to arrange billions of items of PPE. Who do you contact? A company which has made surgical items for the past 7 decades and supplies many of the largest hospitals in the West, or B, some guy called Marco you met on Hugo's stag do, who was really hilarious and provided the nurse's costume you made the groom go on a pub crawl in, who your WhatsApp offer of a contract with a dick pic captioned "Get it up, your bum boy," 3 lorry loads of Sainsbury's handle-tie bin bags, and an invoice for £180 million. And question 3, 127,000 people are dead. Do you resign? A, yes, or B, of course not. Shame is for Catholics and pussies. If you answered mainly A, congratulations, you're not Matt Hancock. If you answered mainly B, commiserations, you are Matt Hancock. Please ask the person who helped you read this to explain to you that eventually the shit is going to hit the fan, bounce off the fan, and get stuck between 2 pieces of bread. And when that happens, someone is going to have to choke down that foot-long turd sub and smile. Stack up on condiments, Matt, because that someone is you.
It's time for another quiz now, relating to this. We can never have too many quizzes in the show.
You've really got a taste for hosting quizzes, Zaltz.
Well, born to do it. Bob Dylan, the pop star, turned 80.
That's the best description of Bob Dylan I've ever.
The renowned songsmith was greeted with a wave of goodwill from his many admirers around the world. But let's see how long that lasts. He's in his 80s now. Just wait until he swaps his acoustic walking frame for an electric mobility scooter. It'll be Judas all over again. Scoot fast. So Dylan turned 80, and coincidentally, Dominic Cummings outlined at least 80 ways in which the British political system is deeply inadequate. So to commemorate these 2 historic moments, we have a special free bonus complimentary Bugle quiz. Dylan or Cummings? One is the title of a Bob Dylan song, and the other is something Dominic Cummings said or suggested in his select committee evidence. This is an extended version of a thing that was edited to the bones for last week's news quiz. So,
Andy, I will not have you turn this podcast into a dumping ground for stuff from other shows.
Yeah. You're basically Lenny Bruce reading out a charge sheet at this point.
I mean, you wouldn't believe it, but I've written too much stuff for the radio show.
Unbelievable.
So tell me, which of these, you can do this at home, write down on a bit of paper. One is a Dylan song, the other is something to do with Dominic Cummings, Select Committee testimony. You ain't going nowhere, or you ain't supposed to be going anywhere, you f***ing idiot. Question 2, just like a woman, or just like a shopping trolley smashing from one side of the aisle to the other, which I'll give you a clue. Well, words used by Cummings to describe Johnson's indecisive leadership in the early weeks of the crisis. Slightly raises the question, who was pushing the trolley, and what aisle are we talking about? Are we talking about an aisle in a supermarket or the aisle in a church, as Boris Johnson tries to find his latest wife?
Also, the idea that the shopping trolley was moving suggests that at any point in this process, the wheels have been on.
Yes, if only for once the wheels had come off. Absolutely Sweet Marie or Absolutely Sweet FA. It ain't me, babe, or it ain't me who should have been allowed to be involved in the highest levels of government. One too many mornings, or way too many warnings. The lonesome death of Hattie Carroll, or the lonesome death of 40,000 care home residents due to catastrophically flawed government strategy. You're going to make me lonesome when you go, or you're going to make me vengeful when you sack me. Don't think twice, it's all right, or don't think at all. It will only upset you to realise the parody of our supposed democratic ideal that we've become. Idiot Wind, or Idiot Secretary of State for Health. Stuck inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues again, or stuck inside Immobile with the kids and booze again. If you see her, say hello, or if you see her, tell her I'm terribly sorry about the avoidable death of her grandparents. I threw it all away, or I kept written and photographic records of everything. Or sooner or later, one of us must know, or actually we both know, and we're going to tell vastly different versions of the same story. So there is your Dylan or Cummings quiz. Do send your answers on a postcard to anyone who gives a shit. Belarus updates. Belarus, once again, not to be confused with Bella R Us, the offshoot of the Toys R Us franchise, and specialising in merchandise and memorabilia themed around the life and music of the great Hungarian composer Bela Bartok. We reported last week on the kidnap of an entire aeroplane by the Belarusian government and its leader, Alex Lukashenko, the self-styled wicked Weskers of the East. Now, we reported on this in a world-exclusive scoop. We won't tell you how we got it. A good journalist always protects their source. Okay, well, since you asked, we heard about it from the telly and the internet. By happy coincidence, for the obsessive aeroplane collector Lukashenko, his latest acquisition contained dissident journalist Roman Protasevich and his partner, Sofia Sapega, who have since been paraded on television in a coercedly filmed confession, which is not a good look, really, is it, when you're trying to project democracy and rectitude to the world, which is emphatically what Lukashenko is not trying to do.
Well, do you know what? I know this is not popular, but in many ways, I feel this is Roman Protasevich's own fault, right? Sure, he's a heroic figure who spent all the years of his short life fighting bravely to free his fellow countrymen from the tyranny of Europe's last dictator, but he's 26! I remember my 20s just about, and I can't believe he's got the energy. I mean, you have a lot of energy when you're that young, but you spend most of it, if I recall correctly, judging bars on whether or not they sell cocktails by the jug, screaming in impotent fury at mortgage adverts on the telly, doing everything you can to get out of headlining the Student Union Comedy Night at Kingston University, spending 13% of your life drunk on the night bus and spending 78% of that time saying you're never getting a night bus again. You save trying to overthrow dictators until your 30s when all your friends are having babies and you're at a loose end because no one wants to go to karaoke with you anymore. He just walked into it.
The UN Civil Aviation Agency has said it's going to launch a fact-finding investigation into Lukashenko's actions, asking if there was a breach of international aviation law. Let me save them a job here. Yes. I'm pretty sure if I call in a bomb threat on a plane because I have a beef with one of the passengers, I'm going straight to Guantanamo faster than you can say the phrase Civil Aviation Authority.
What type of leader would you most like to see take over Israel at this hyper-delicate point in the permafragile history of the Middle East? A moderate bridge-building reformer committed to a shared peace and progress, or B, a far-right religious nationalist?
Oh, is that
That's
it?
Slightly alarmingly long pause before you answer that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, my heart says A, but due to bad genetics, my heart is quite literally full of shit.
Yes, well, it does look like it's going to be. It is going to be B. Naftali Bennett looks set to form a coalition. As Mick Jagger said, you can't always get what you want, but if the wrong people try, you can get what you absolutely don't need.
Yeah, but why mess with a winning formula, Andy? You know, intractable pricks as Israeli PM have been a massive success over the last 7 decades. And why mess with that?
Humanity versus mice news now, and I love the smell of napalm in the morning, especially when I've been up all night listening to the sound of mice scuttling around under the floorboards. It's napalm the mice time in Australia. A horrific plague of mice has struck parts of Australia, and for those who've not seen the footage, it basically looked like Beatrix Potter was let loose with some CGI special effects after 5 bottles of cheap schnapps. Absolutely horrific quantity and it's amazing, isn't it, that the traditional Australian natural terrors that you put in ascending order of dangerousness, the crocodile, the shark, the box jellyfish, the unnecessarily deadly snake. I mean, what the is the point of having enough venom to kill 100 people in one bite? The Tyrannosaurus koala, the saber-toothed platypus, Glenn McGrath, and that tiny little spider. They've now all been overtaken by the mouse. And I mean, I guess, in Britain, we like to root for the underdog, root for the little guy. So we should be cheering the mice on, I guess. But it doesn't sit well with me. I'm not a mice fan.
No, well, as you refer there, once again, like we find that Australia has a very weirdly specific set of skills and failures when it comes to dealing with animals. Like great big terrifying things, no problem. Crocodiles, easy. They're just shoes I've not worn yet. Box jellyfish, get your speedos, mate. We're going surfing. Redback spider, see if you can find me another, then I can give them to me ma as a pair of earrings. But rabbits, build a fucking fence. Mice, struth. I'm losing my shit here. Yet again, the people of Australia seem genuinely staggered by the idea that if you introduce a non-Indigenous animal which hasn't evolved to take a carefully balanced place in the local ecosystem, it is likely to run amok and take over in a fairly unhelpful way, like a Nazi party planner at a bar mitzvah. And when I say the people of Australia, I mean the white people of Australia. The original inhabitants are very au fait with the idea that if you let in a bunch of things from Britain, it's not going to go terribly well for the ones that are Same thing happened to the Maoris of New Zealand, the tribes of South Africa, and the hosts of late-night talk shows in America. The problem for the Australians now is precisely how they're going to kill all the mice. Given their standard MO, there's absolutely no way that it's not going to involve releasing a bunch of non-Indigenous cats who will eventually become their own plague, necessitating the introduction of a pack of non-Indigenous dogs, then cows, then horses. But before they do that, they need to think, is it really a good idea to kill all the mice? Once you kill all the mice, that's when the big boss level mouse appears. About 100 times the size of a regular mouse, able to move at 70 kilometers an hour and can kick a man's stomach out through his back. Don't believe me? It's happened before. How do you think they ended up with all those kangaroos in the first place?